There's that many buttons, right? Think. Just check. Hello, can you see us? There's that many buttons, right? Oh no, it's doing that. Think. Just
what?
Check. Now.
I can hear you.
Gone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Sorry, I will get to this, I promise.
Okay.
Okay.
I see us on there, so.
Yay! They can see us. Can you see the chat? You can see the chat as well, can you, Summer?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So it's a joy and a delight. Dear Summer, thank you so much for agreeing to come back again.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure, an honor.
I can't wait for these days when you're on with us here. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
And we'll just let people join us. Where are you? Perhaps we'll just engage a little in the chat with the people to see who's with us and maybe where you're from. I'm in Marathona, Greece. Where are you, Summer?
Sedona, Arizona.
Sedona, Arizona. Gorgeous place. So big welcome to Lucy. Big
Hello,
welcome to Jimmy, who's helping here. And just to let people come in the room, just takes usually a few minutes and then we're sort of all together. Ireland, Scotland, Germany, California, Maine, Mumbai, India, wow, Latvia, Holland, Canada, wow, Budapest, Slovenia, wow, Illinois, Ireland, San Jose, Bury, Lancashire. Hiya, Diana, you're right, love. Toronto, wow, it's just, yeah.
Flanders, where's Flanders?
Flanders, I think, is in Holland.
Oh, Dubai, my goodness sakes.
Wow.
Sun City, West Arizona.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Beautiful soul family. It's an honor to be with you today. And Summer, I'm just going to pass the microphone to you. Where would you like to start? Over to you.
Oh gosh, you know, well, I actually wrote down a few little notes of things to talk about today because I know that there's one thing that I've talked to you before we went live that we'll talk about in a little bit, but I noticed, you know, when I'm doing these chats with you, I can't always see the comments and things. And so when I've gone back to, you know, take a look at the comments, I noticed there are some questions that people put in the comment area. And somebody was asking about Sasquatch last time.
Yes.
And I don't know if I've ever told my Sasquatch stories.
I haven't heard any.
Okay, so for those of you who may not know Sasquatch, you might know Sasquatch as Bigfoot. I actually have had an encounter, and it happened here in Sedona. And apparently, it is not it's not a terribly unusual thing in Sedona and the surrounding area. There's an area called Jerome, where people kept seeing this Sasquatch at a particular curve on Highway 89A, I think, or whatever it is that goes out to Prescott, and that was happening for a while. Well, I didn't really think about anything of it, you know, kind of the last thing that I was really interested in or thinking about. And one day I was hiking around the Thunder Mountain Trail, and there weren't very many people. It might have been during the initial part of the quarantine and COVID and that sort of thing. And it was the one trail that was left open. And I was by myself, and I started feeling a little self-conscious about being so alone and isolated on this trail, which I never usually feel that way. When I'm hiking, I love it when I'm alone. And I suddenly heard these footsteps behind me. And I thought, oh, it's other hikers. Okay, so I'll step aside and let them, you know, pass me by. So I turned around and there was nobody there, and the footsteps had stopped as soon as I turned around. And I thought, that's weird. So I kept walking, and again, I heard the footsteps behind me, and I could feel this presence behind me. And I quick turned around, and the steps stopped, and there was nobody there. And I thought, well, maybe it's just an echo of my feet, but there's no place for it to echo off of, and I've hiked that trail probably 1,000 times, literally, over the years. So I come past these bushes that were maybe about 10 feet away from me. And I came around this corner, and all of a sudden there was this noise and this movement of this enormous creature in the bushes, running through the bushes, and stuff is flying all over the place. And my first thought, of course, is like, oh my God, it's a bear, or it's a mountain lion, or it's or it was a homeless encampment that, I disturbed. And I mean, my mind is going to everything you can imagine, wondering what am I in danger or not? And I kind of, stood back, and I watched, and this thing comes running out of the bushes, hauling butt, and is bent over at the waist, and had this fur that was like really long and looked kind of almost like porcupine needles in a way. And it was black and had some white tufts on it. And it was running at high speed. It was massive. And I knew immediately that this was not a regular animal out in the wilderness here, that it was definitely more human. And as it ran, and this is broad daylight, mind you, it ran out, and it just disappeared into like a portal or something, but it was as solid as anything I've ever seen. And I talked to my friend, Tom Dongo, who is a ufologist, who's, world renowned. And he's done all kinds of research on all kinds of places about Sasquatch and other things. And I told him what I saw, and he goes, oh yeah, that was a Sasquatch. He said, I had described it. He said, they come in, they're in a lot of, depending on the part of the world they're in, they have different color coats. And another time, I was, when I was living in West Sedona, I was going to go on a hike, and I'm driving down the street, and I think, my God, that's a big dog. Sitting at the side of the road. I think it's going potty, on the side of the road. And I'm like, that is a massive dog. And I looked, like, no, it was not a dog. It had a face, and it looked right at me. And this Sasquatch was kneeling down, crouched down, and looked at me almost with terror that I had seen him. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I looked in my rearview mirror, and I turned my head around to catch another glimpse as I went by, and he was gone. And there was a little arroyo right there, so he could have just gone down in there. So that was twice I had that happen. And another time with Tom Dongo, we were hiking together in Jerome, and same sort of thing. We heard footsteps behind us. And I said, do you hear that? He goes, yeah, I do. And we turn around, and there's nothing there. And the bushes would rattle, would like shake. And this happened 2 or 3 times. We never saw the Sasquatch that time, but that's when he said, that's probably a Sasquatch. They love to play games. They love to tease you. So after I saw that one on the trail, I started to get these things happening. And when I'd go on the trail, I would all of a sudden see stones, little tiny stones, fly right in front of my face, straight across. And I thought maybe there were some kids playing a game with me. And they would flick these stones. And Tom said that's what they do. They like to play games. They like to tease and joke around and stuff. So I thought it was really fun and really cool. And why me? I have no idea. I really don't know. He looked so solid and so real, but I just wonder why me? Am I like seeing into another dimension, and that's why I can see him, because I can see spirits and that sort of thing? But he didn't look like a spirit. He looked very solid and real. So I don't know. I mean, those are just some things that I ponder sometimes too. So I just wanted to address the Sasquatch thing, because
thank you.
I had a lot of wild experiences for sure. I've had extraterrestrials. I've had contact with ETs and that sort of thing, and just a lot of different things. And people say, well, why does that happen to you? You've had so many different experiences. And I think really because I've never really not wanted to have them, and I've never really looked for them, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid to see the invisible. And I think it's really fun. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Wow.
It's very, very, very fun. So, yeah.
That's fascinating. There's a lot of amazing comments here. Wow, amazing. Yay.
Yeah, it's fun. It really is. And somebody here says, Anne Herman says, I must say I have a very ordinary life. Yeah, and I always wanted an ordinary life, whatever that means, but it never happened that way. And I also realized that because of my work that I've done all my life, for 27 years, and I've really not been out in the world in the way the world is. Like, I've never had to go along with the social mores and things like that. I don't follow trends. I don't, because of who I am and the way that my life has been. It's been all about spirituality. It's been all about God. It's been all about, talking to spirit and seeking spirit and embracing people of all nationalities, all colors, all races. People, I've learned to love people that I didn't initially love, just because of the channeling has opened me up to that so much. I've had to love the people that I've channeled for. So even if I didn't like them at first, it's like, but I have to love them, or I cannot raise my vibration to allow spirit to come through. I have to be in that place of love. I have to care. So, but an ordinary life sure wouldn't be a bad thing either. I think that would be kind of fun too. I always just wanted to get married once and live happily ever after, have a bunch of kids and write. But you can't quit your calling, as the saying goes.
No. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking here, Summer, do we attract everything into our life experience, or are events, people, or things meant to happen?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, really. I think that there's an interesting thing about Sedona, for example. It's an area where a lot of people come to and they feel drawn to. And so there are people from all over the world here. It's not like there's I'm probably one of the more local people because I've been here 32 years or so. But people come to Sedona and they might see somebody in a grocery store and say, I know you from somewhere. Seems like we knew each other in a past life. And Dr. Peebles said that Sedona is one of these areas on Earth, and I'm sure there's many, where before we're born even, we might say, I'll meet you in Sedona. I'll see you there. And so we end up by choice coming to Sedona and meeting the people that we set it up with before we came to the Earth. So some of the things I think are predestined, but can also be changed. You can change your mind about certain things. You don't have to follow through on some of the things that you said you might want to do in this lifetime on Earth. You can change your plans. And also, I think we do attract certain situations to us. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. I'm just going to say it.
Yay.
Because this happened to me recently. And I didn't even realize what I was doing. I have looked and searched for this boyfriend, my very first boyfriend, for decades, trying to find him. Decades, literally. And I Googled him. He's not anywhere on social media. He's very, very hard to find. I kind of sort of found out a little bit about what his work was, sort of found out that he's married, and, unfortunately for me, but I still wanted to find him. We were very, very close. He was like family. It was a very brief, very intense relationship. So I have kept a lot of the things that I had. I have pictures of him from many years ago, and he was in a rock band, and we were just very, very close. We had a lot in common, and it just didn't work out. We didn't end up together forever, but I had these pictures of him, and they're really cool pictures because it was from the days in Los Angeles with, when it was punk rock and really cool old rock and roll bands and stuff like that. And so they were really neat pictures of him. So when I moved in here into my dad's house, I had him, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to put him on the wall. I just love these photos of him, and I love him. And I just thought, I'm just going to put it on the wall. I hung them up on the wall. And then I thought, gosh, I wonder if I still have my journal that I wrote all about him in. And I thought, I'm just going to go read that journal. But I thought, oh no, I think I threw it away. Like, you know, sometimes you get like in these moods and say, oh, I just don't need this anymore. I'm just going to throw it away. It's old stuff. But no, I go into my bedroom and there's this box in there. And I go, I wonder what's in that box. I never look in that box. And I open it up and there's the journal. Now I've put the pictures on the wall, open up the box, find the journal, start reading the journal. And it's about my first date with him. And my phone rings. Is on the phone and he says, you'll never guess who I just talked to for an hour. I said, who? And he said, it was this guy, my old boyfriend. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I emailed him, of course, and I got in touch with him, and it's been really nice to talk to him. And you know, but it's like, how did that happen? You know, I hung the pictures on the wall. I completely surrendered and said, you know, I just love this man, whatever it is, I don't care. And I'm just going to let myself be me and just love him. And it just, whoop, there it was. There he is. You know, not that anything can happen. I mean, he's married, and I'm very, very, you know, quite serious about the fact that that is you know, I respect and honor that. I think that's a fabulous thing that anybody could be married for 30 years and stuff. And, you know, I'm not out to wreck somebody's life, but
wow.
But I just had to share that. That's really just an illustration of how you can attract things when you're being authentic with yourself, being honest and vulnerable, and you know, just be you, just do you, as the saying goes. It really does work.
Yes.
You can attract things to you. So I hope that answered the question a little bit.
Oh, lovely. Now, Annabelle is asking, Summer, is there anything we can do to help raise the vibration when we feel so incandescent with anger about what's going on? I really try to stay happy, but sometimes I'm full of rage.
Yeah. And you know what? I think sometimes we try too hard to not feel our anger and our rage. I think it's really okay sometimes to just, I call it a righteous anger. There's stuff that happens that isn't nice, isn't, you know, isn't happy, isn't good. And you can't really turn an apple into an orange, you know? And so I think the sooner that you acknowledge that you're angry about this, it's like, yeah, I'm angry about that. I'm going to let myself be angry about it, but don't dwell on it. Don't stew on it. Just be, it's like, yeah, I'm really angry about that. I don't like it. There's things I don't like. I also know I can't really do anything about it right now. I'm not in a position to change the world or whatever. I can do what I can do by talking to you like this, or, you know, helping a friend. But yeah, I mean, it's okay to be angry. I think a lot of times right now on the planet, I know a lot of people who say all of a sudden, it's like, all I did was just drop my coffee spoon on the floor. And it's like you would think that, you know, the world was coming to an end, and you're spewing expletives and angry. And I think sometimes for sensitive people like us, you know, we can sometimes take on the energies of the world, and we become like these energetic release valves for anger and stuff that's on the earth, because we're so empathic, you know, and so it builds up inside of us, and then it spews, and maybe we're just releasing some energy for the world in those moments. But I think it's really important to not be too hard on yourself. You know, there are things that's okay to be angry about. You know, Jesus Christ even turned over the tables, you know, and got pretty ticked off when people were like, you know, robbing people and stuff. He didn't like it. It's like, this is not cool with me. You know, I just think there's times there's a balance there, in other words.
Yes.
So, but there's other little things, of course, you can do if you want to. I think we did this last time, where you just release the energy to the earth.
Yes.
You know, but I think most of all, it's the acknowledgement of the anger initially, without letting, you know, thinking, I've got to be happy, I've got to be nice, I've got to make nice. That's just going to start. It's not going to work. It's like shaking up a bottle of champagne and expecting that the cork's not going to go flying off, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful analogy. Like that. Yeah.
Not like champagne.
Oh dear. Yeah. No, don't feel bad about being cross, Annabelle. It's part of the human experience. There are things. Rage is something that actually causes somebody to take action and to do something very often. Yeah, it's very motivational. So
Annabelle just said, bless you for sharing and mentioning Jesus. And it's like, yeah, why not? And one of the things about Jesus is that a lot of people really hold him at arm's length. And, you know, then I don't know if anybody knows this, but the New Age community, I don't consider myself to be New Age. The New Age community emerged from the church, people who left the church because they didn't want the dogma. And I understand that completely. And because I was in the church many years ago. And they didn't want to talk about Jesus Christ anymore. They didn't even want to talk about God. So they only started talking about like Archangel Michael and that sort of thing. So it kept a lot of the dogma of the church and talking about God and Jesus away. But the thing that I look at is, if you're going to really live a loving life, and you're really going to learn how to be as loving as God is, you know, with all people, all creatures, everything. If you're going to hold Jesus at arm's length, that's still saying, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to see it. I don't want to love him. And so now, are you really being loving? You know, let life in instead. It's okay. Jesus was a man who walked the earth, who was really a wonderful, wonderful man. I've seen him. I've had interactions with him. He came to me in 3-dimensional. You know, he's really a beautiful, beautiful being. And all I think that he came here to tell anybody was, you're a beautiful being too. Let's just get on with life and get on with loving. You know, it's not about religion. It's at all. It's really just about us coming to the awareness that we're one family. We're all part of this earth. Dr. Peebles said this last week. He said, this planet belongs to all of you. This is your home. It's not just your neighborhood that you live in. You live on the planet. This is our planet. This is your planet, my planet. Beautiful. We're in this together. We're our family. Beautiful. And that's the thing for us to start realizing and acknowledging.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, that's beautiful.
At least that's the way I believe.
That's beautiful. Ed here is asking, why is there so much abuse in this life?
I think there's been abuse on the planet forever. You know, it's a lot of the contrast. What happens is, this is a school called Planet Earth, and we come here to learn how to love and be loved. And a lot of people equate love with a lot of different things. They equate it with money, the acquisition of money. They equate it with, I'm going to make you love me, you know, and you better not say these certain things around me, because if you love me, you won't talk like that. It's like, well, that's not exactly how it works. It's really about living life from the inside out and being that which you would like the world to be. You know, it's living that life that you like the rest of the world to live. You live your life as a demonstration of being loving and kind and gentle and all of these things. People are going to abuse people. I was abused many, many times in my marriages, one marriage in particular. And what I learned from that is that bullies, you know, people who abuse people or try to squash their thoughts, their perspectives, opinions, or anything, or try to control them physically, emotionally. People who do that are hurting people. They themselves are hurting, and they are afraid to grow. And so what they do is they squash the people around them to make themselves feel bigger. If I step on you and squash you down, I will feel more powerful. But the reality is, eventually that person's going to have to grow. But they're afraid. They're afraid. And because, you know, even people who say, you know, how is it that you could believe in spirit or believe in the channeling that you do, and that sort of thing? It's like, well, it's experiential. It's because I chose to go there. I chose to reach out to spirit. I chose to become a trance medium and learn how to sense spirit. So it's something that I did by choice. But if somebody says, well, I don't believe in that. I could never do that. I would never want to reach out to spirit. That's terrifying to me, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, okay, that's fine. But you're just going to stay in your little box for a long, 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 long time, afraid, until you finally say, you know what, maybe there is more than this. And then you start to explore, and then you start to adventure into the world courageously, and you find out that there's really not so much to be afraid of. It's really more of a journey about love and personal growth, and it's just extraordinary. So
beautiful.
I mean, I'm saying a lot of things that I think I'm not expounding on a lot, but I hope that Hope that's helpful.
It's very helpful. Thank you.
So I'm just looking at these. Why the abuse and the suffering? Yeah, it is. It's terrible, isn't it? Because we choose to abuse and make people suffer. And we also put ourselves in a, as Dr. Peebles even said again this week, he started talking about how we put ourselves in cages. We create our own little cages. We believe, by not loving ourselves or not believing in ourselves or not feeling worthy. And we shut ourselves down from opportunities and possibilities. So yeah, it's not an easy planet. It's not an easy place to be. It's the toughest school in the universe. So
yeah, we chose it though, maybe.
I believe we did. I absolutely believe we chose to be here. And it takes a lot of courage to be here. And out of sheer morbid curiosity, I want to see how this story ends,
Yeah, the Gemini curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in as far as the channeling, so
yeah,
this friend of mine who I'm in touch with has no idea about what I do. He doesn't really understand it at all. And so he asks me a lot, he asks me a lot of questions. And it's really fun because he's very open to learning, about what it is that I do. And it terrifies him, absolutely terrifies him. He says, isn't it dangerous? Like, no. And for those of you who don't know what I do, I think most of you do by now, but I'm a trance medium for Dr. James Martin Peebles, who died in 1922. And I let him use my body, my vocal cords to speak and everything. And, very much like Bracha does with the Pleiadians. And so one of the questions he was asking me this morning was, he said, it was kind of funny. He said, so why don't you just channel all the time and just make a lot of money? And I said, it's not really what it's about. It's not really what the journey's about. I said, I did this for me, for my personal connection with God and spirit. And I said, and also I can't do it physically. It is very, very taxing. And he says, why? He said, I don't understand why it would be taxing. And I said, well, you have to understand how energy works. This is a low voltage wire, my body. And as I raise my vibration to a higher frequency, it kind of tears up this low voltage wire here with this higher frequency and also the frequency of spirit coming into it. So he's trying to understand all of that. And I said, it's very physical. He thinks that, and maybe some of you out there may think this too, that when you watch a channel, that you think that they're just passively sitting there doing nothing, and the spirit jumps into their body and just does all the talking for them. And it's really not that way at all. You have to learn how to raise your vibration and hold a space for an extended period of time. And that can be, and without interfering, without editorializing what spirit is trying to say through you. If you hear it and you go, I don't believe that, or what are they saying? Why are they saying that? And it's coming out of your mouth, but you have to hold this space. You have to hold this vibration. So I tried to explain it to him as, I said, he's not the happiest person on the planet. So let me put it like this. So I said, if I were to say to you to think of a happy thought, something happy that happened in your life. Okay, so that's not hard to do. Oh yeah, sure, I remember a happy moment. Okay, now try to hold that feeling of that happy moment for 45 minutes to an hour or 2 hours. I've channeled for up to 2 hours. Wow. And I'm telling you, even just holding a happy thought for that long of a period of time and keeping it consistently feeling the same way would be exhausting. And it's sort of like I said, it's like anything that you do in life. If you're a performer, let's say you're a performer, like he was a drummer. And I said, when you would play drums and you perform for 4 hours and you're getting the audience all excited and riled up and everything, I said, then you go home and there's that sort of, you're exhausted. There's this letdown because I said, your energy vibration was raised very high and you're engaging with the audience, you're connecting. And then you get home and it's like, then the circuitry winds down. Ooh, it's like, oh, I'm exhausted. So, but I was just curious, Bracha, how you experience your channeling? Is it similar to that? Because I notice you're nodding yes, 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 yes to the things I'm saying, but I'm just curious, how would you describe it?
Well, certainly the thing that I find probably one of the most difficult things is you have to let come all the things that you disagree with, or things that are just like, excuse me, right? I wouldn't say that in a million years, or I could never come up with that. Yeah, it's like, yeah, so, but you have to sort of, I feel as though I have to step aside, or they push me aside. It's like, we're going to say this anyway. So I feel as though you just have to keep surrendering. Yeah, you keep giving in, giving in, giving in, and
you have to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes, it's terribly energy consuming, because you're allowing this much higher frequency.
Yeah.
In, and it's super intense. So when you come out of it, I mean, it depends on the channeling. Not all are as draining. Some are very, and maybe you find the same. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, times where it's just like, oh my God.
Sometimes I'm polaxed, and sometimes I'm quite energized. It's sort of a little bit, it can vary.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. It's different with every person that you engage with. And it's really, I think, in some ways no different than if you're just you, and you meet somebody at a party and you go, oh, they're kind of nice, but I don't really like them. Like I'm not feeling like I want to engage with them or whatever. And then somebody else, you're like, oh man, it feels so good to be in their presence. And you're just, super excited about it. It's the same thing as sometimes when you're channeling for somebody, it's like, it's tedious. It can be very tedious because it's just, they might be just on a real downer, really, really depressed, or, not, they're desperate for help and attention, and they're taking that energy, and it's, so there's lots of ways in which it works, but I just thought I would share that because it's not a passive thing at all. It's not passive in any way, shape, or form.
No. And it's very physical. I mean, for me, I feel movements in the body. I feel sensations in the body. Yeah. It's
Absolutely.
not, you're not just sort of sitting there like a lump. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
yeah. Thank you everybody for being here too. And it's so much fun. It's
just so good to have you here. It's yes, and your little book of channeling, it helped me so much.
Oh, good.
It's helped many. Somebody here, Joseph, is saying your little book of channeling, great read. So it is.
And
I highly recommend this.
I don't know if I'm saying your name right, Radhika, but who says, Summer, how do you distinguish the spiritual downloads as truth and illusions? And that's just practice, really. Eventually you get attuned if you practice enough with anything. Just like I always have to come back to playing a keyboard like a pianist, like Bracha is. You have to get used to the feeling of your fingers on the keys, and there's little nuances where you didn't hit that note just right, but somebody else will be like, yes, you did, because they don't know the difference, but you know exactly what the action is on the key and exactly how you want it to sound and exactly how you're going to play it because you practiced a lot, and the thing is, I think some people think that it's just, one day you just go into trance, and that's not what happens at all. It doesn't happen that easily. People think, oh, spirit's just going to jump into your body and that's it. It's just going to happen. And it does not happen that way. If it is done in integrity, it's definitely not going to happen that way. It's going to happen through a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of willingness to surrender and engage with spirit and raise your vibrational frequency and that sort of thing, so that spirit can come through. And then you start to, a lot of times, like with this sort of work, I think that you're not going to be pushed to do anything before it's time, unless you're saying I want to get out there and hang out my shingle. I think that happens way too often. And then we end up with a lot of not really great channels and not a lot of really great psychics. As a result, they're sort of half-assing it. They didn't do the work to really clear the channel, and they didn't clear all the blocks that are within them. But I think that there is if you take the time to really, feel, is this in integrity? when there's a truth there, you'll know it's true. It's a nuance, it's a sense that, yeah, this is true. Even if I don't believe it, what spirit is saying is true. And if it is not true, you get a real sense of like, there's this little cherub face or something that is trying to tell you, oh, this is true, this is real. They're trying to cajole you into believing what they're saying, but it's not true at all. And you can feel that it's not in integrity. It's just like in life, when we meet somebody, I'm sure many of you have done this because I know I have. When I first met my first husband, I knew he was trouble the minute I met him, and I decided to ignore that. And because I wanted to see what I thought was the goodness and the light within him, but I ignored that first feeling, that first instinct. It's that thing that grabs you in your gut that says, and I went for it anyway. Not a good idea, but I learned my lessons there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think truth has a ring to it. There's a sacred quality to truth that I think people recognize. And they recognize when somebody is bullshitting. I think we know, a bit like you recognized with your first husband. It was like you knew.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of times we give people the benefit of the doubt when we really should be giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt. I can tell you that there are spirits that I have channeled that, I let them speak, and but and even if I didn't like them, when I was channeling dearly departed loved ones, and I didn't particularly like the one that wanted to come through, but I let them come through anyway because the person really needed to talk to that person, and I needed it to be real and honest, and they had to have that interaction. But there are times that I will tell you, I have said, no, I will not channel that person.
Wow.
And I won't, because I am not going to do something that is going to put me in a compromising position that I feel is compromising me, ultimately. So there are things that I have done like that. You have every right to say no. You have every right to tell a spirit who's bothering you to go away. You have no permission to be here. I've been bullied pretty badly by some spirits in my life, and I've had to kick them out and just do it forcefully. You just said, you have no permission to be here. This is my body. This is my spirit. This belongs to me. You have no permission to be here. And that's all it really takes ultimately to get rid of these guys.
Yeah.
The little naughty spirits.
Yeah, I was very lucky to have you at the very beginning. So I didn't have to go through that in such a difficult way. Because you said to me, you just tell them to go away, and that's it.
And it's very matter of fact, because if you're afraid, then that's what's going to bring them closer. She's scared, and that invites them closer, really.
Yes.
So
yes. So yeah. Yes.
Oh my goodness. So yes, somebody says, I think they were referring to what we were just talking about. You have overstayed your welcome. Something that we could say to the spirit. I suppose that would be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a very good one to say. Yeah.
What does Summer have to say about healing from a 20-year addiction? Wow, congratulations. I mean, it's, anything is possible, and it usually seems to happen in a nanosecond. When you finally get it, you get it, and then it just and you step into a new you. So congratulations to Ed.
Yes, congratulations, Ed. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does language work when you channel?
Yeah. What was that?
From Donovan here.
Oh, okay. I got a question about, how does language work when you channel? When channeling extraterrestrials, do they talk English? Well, something, Don, I channeled a Saint Bernard once for a woman who was in England, and took a video of it. And the Saint Bernard spoke English. So it's the language of the heart that is being spoken. I don't think, I have to think about the Tower of Babel, how the languages were separated out on the earth basically to drive us all crazy, so that we had to find new ways to communicate with each other and stuff. But I think there's really just one universal language, and it can come through in any language. I would love to be able to channel in foreign languages though, and I'm still working on that, still working on it. But
Wow.
Yeah, when I channel Dr. Peebles, there's a different voice there. He has a different accent because he lived in Ireland for a long time, but he was from Vermont, and he traveled all over the world. So he kind of picked up and created his own dialect that seems to come through me based on his life on Earth. So that distinguishes him from me. And he also uses a lot of old-fashioned words a lot of times that I sometimes even have to look up and say, what does that mean? Is that a real word?
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, and he says, we speak the language of the heart. He said, you try to understand it with your mind, but he said, you can't. He said, until you fall into your heart space, then you can really understand what we're striving to say. Because he says, they're just really pushing energy around is all they're doing. They're just pushing energy around. And that's the way they experience it. So yeah. Oh, did I misunderstand the question from Ed? Somebody says that. I don't know if I did or not.
I don't know either.
Person channeling? I'm not sure. Ed was the one about the addiction, I guess, how to overcome an addiction.
Yes.
Oh, well, it's interesting. I think some of the things that Dr. Peebles has said is to not fight it so much. The more you embrace whatever it is you're doing that's an addiction, and you have loving allowance for it to be, then suddenly you don't need it anymore. He used to say something, not through me, but through Thomas Jacobson, about if you have somebody you love who smokes cigarettes, and you don't want, and you'd like for them to stop smoking, he said, buy them cases and cases and cases of cigarettes. Suddenly they will just be like, oh, well, I guess I don't really need this now. It has this opposite effect. So it's interesting. He's told people in the past to love smoking cigarettes. If they're going to do it, then to love it, because if they don't love it, then it's going to hurt them. If every time you're taking a drag off a cigarette and you're saying, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm a bad person, you're just inhaling that. And it's the same thing with food. When you eat food, and you're being hard on yourself because you're eating, I shouldn't be eating this much, I shouldn't be eating this much. I overcame bulimia and a weight problem that I had as a result of bulimia. Believe it or not, I had gained an enormous amount of weight when I was younger, and I was bulimic, meaning that you eat scarf and barf, basically, is what it is. And you think you're getting rid of all of these calories by throwing up, and you don't, because you're actually end up slowing down your metabolism, and then you start gaining weight, is what I found out many, many years afterwards. But the way that I stopped bulimia was, I had a boyfriend at the time, and I said, I need to tell you something. It's really serious. I have a problem. And he goes, what's that? And bulimia is a type of addiction. It really is. It's an addiction to food and stuff. And I finally told him that I was bulimic, and he just cracked up. He laughed and laughed. And I was like, what? Why are you laughing? He said, oh God, I thought you were going to tell me you had cancer or something. He said, this we can solve. And the weirdest thing, because he laughed about it, all of my need for it just disappeared. I just stopped.
Wow.
It wasn't even a thing anymore. He just made it like no big deal. And I stopped berating myself for it and stopped belittling myself, because every time it's like, I shouldn't eat that chocolate cake with that chocolate frosting. I'm not going to eat that chocolate cake. I'm not going to eat it. Oh boy, that chocolate cake with that drippy frosting all over it. And you're telling yourself this, and by the time you eat it, you just chow down the whole cake. But if I had just said, oh, I'd like to have a piece of that, and I take a little bite, okay, I'm good. It's like having loving allowance for yourself to be. I've known a lot of people who've been addicted to a lot of things in my life. My brother was one of them, and it's hard to watch sometimes, but I've watched a lot of people overcome a lot of things too. And it's really when it comes down to being kind to yourself and loving yourself, and not being hard on yourself for, people are so hard on themselves for what they've done. They feel like they're the worst, they're scourge of the planet. And it just pains me, to see people being so hard on themselves. You're not a bad person because you have an addiction. You just have something going on in your life right now. This too shall pass. We can get through this, That's what I want to say.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Song. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm.
Yeah. Good questions. I mean, it's really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think the science experts can be incorrect too, Ed. I definitely do. The science is just growing like we are. Science is to be questioned, and there's lots of lovely things about science, fantastic things about science, but it's also there to be questioned and looked at, and let's get creative here. And yeah, you said, Bracha, that was one thing that I had remembered from one of your. Now I have to say I'm a huge fan of you, and I am a huge fan of these, especially these recent videos that you have done, where you're just coming out more and more with more and more information that is just so vulnerable and so amazing and so beautiful and so spot on and so courageous. And one of the things you were talking about, I forget which video it was that you did, but it was on, you had talked about science and spirituality, a need for science and spirituality coming together. Is that a particular period of time where that's going to be
Well, I think
happening?
It's beginning. I think it's beginning to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You agree? I think that scientists are realizing, for example, I mean, there are many examples of people who have healed themselves from things that doctors have said there's just no chance.
Yes.
Somebody who was paralyzed, he's completely rebuilt his back. Yeah. Vertebra by vertebra. And he, according to the medical profession, he should be in a wheelchair forever.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Sir Francis Bacon said many years ago, and I used to have this quote on my wall when I was a teenager, that science needs to become more, and he didn't use spiritual, he said science needs to become more religious and religion more scientific, meaning, science needs to become more spiritual.
Yes.
Spirituality needs to become more scientific. And I thought that was amazing back then when I read that. And I was paralyzed from the neck down. I don't know if I ever told you about that.
No.
It was 2015, I think it was. I had gone to my daughter's wedding, my wonderful, amazing son-in-law. I love him so much. Great, great guy. Very strong. He's been a professional meat cutter since he was 16 years old. He finally gave me a hug, and we'd been setting up for the wedding all day long. And of course we were drinking and stuff. And finally after the wedding, he gives me this big old hug around my rib cage, and something went pop. And I just about fell to the floor. I was in so much pain, but fortunately I had been having champagne. So I was really hobbling around for a long time after that. I never told him about this, and I don't think he'll ever watch this video, so hopefully he'll never find out. I just realized I'm very public here. So anyway, I woke up one morning a few weeks later after a lot of pain, and I had fractured my spine and tore cartilage in my ribs. And I woke up and I was like, it was Saturday morning. My cats, my dog were there. And I was just feeling wonderful. And I thought, Saturday, this is great. I'm just going to go get a cup of coffee, sit down, watch a little Hallmark movies. And I go to get out of bed and I can't move. I could not move anything. I could move my eyes. I think I could turn my head just ever so slightly to be able to see my dog and cats there. And I thought, oh my God. And I'm laying on my back going, this is weird. And I started to laugh. I don't know why I did, but I thought it was the most hilarious thing in the world that I couldn't move. And the funny thing is, I have a friend who I didn't know had been paralyzed from the neck down in the hospital for months. And he told me several years ago, I said, well, but you walk perfectly. You're fine. He goes, yeah. I said, how did you get unparalyzed? And he said, well, I pretty much had nothing else to do. So he said he just started looking at his body and examining and talking to it and doing everything he could to reconnect things. And so I had this knowledge laying there in bed.
Wow.
So I was like, I can't move anything, so I laid there and I thought, well, there is this little muscle down on my right knee that I could actually feel. And I was able to activate it. I could never do that now. I would never even know what muscle that was, but I was activating this one little teeny,
Wow.
tiny, maybe it was a spot on the muscle. I don't know. Did that, it just started to connect the dots. And it took about 3.5 hours before I was able to finally throw myself onto the floor, get up, and I was bent over like this, but I got to that. I wanted that cup of coffee, I'll tell you what. And I got to the kitchen and I somehow swung my arm. My arms were kind of dangling. I swung my arm up on the counter and I was able to get a cup of coffee. So it is possible, absolutely, 100% to heal ourselves, but it takes a tremendous amount of faith and in that case, a tremendous focus as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that I got such a complete rewiring with the Pleiadians. I remember somebody only said to me today, I went to go and see the chiropractor, and I always sit in the lotus position, whatever I'm doing, I'm always in this position. She said, I wish I could do that. I said, listen, 6 years ago, I didn't know I could do it either.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it was only because of the Pleiadians pushing me and and actually rewiring. So I couldn't explain that.
Yeah.
But
incredible.
Scientifically, there's the evidence that I don't have the scoliosis anymore that I've had since I was a child.
Wow, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah. And love is a great healer, it's willingness to love yourself as well, and love and faith and trust in the process. It's a tremendous healer.
Tremendous. Yes.
I know that Dr. Peebles told one of my clients she wanted to help somebody who had cancer. And he said, because nothing else had worked, chemotherapy and all that. And he said, just sit together and love the cancer to death. Stop being afraid of it. Thank it for what it's given to you.
Wow.
And thank it for the lessons that. And so they did. They loved it to death. And I believe it was gone within a couple of weeks or something. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So it's almost like we're bringing the seen and the unseen together.
Yeah. I mean, our bodies are at the mercy of our spirit. Our spirit is not at the mercy of the body. But we're so trained to believe, oh, I was born with this terrible body. But it's really more about learning how to be in that body and to love it and not be afraid of it. And
yes, and not be afraid of it. I think that's a big one, Summer. You're really pinpointing not to be afraid of your own body, to try different things, to see what it does.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's an amazing, it's an amazing adventure. Oh, goodness.
Wow. Can you address all the fear about COVID? Oh, God.
Can I address the fear about COVID? Well, I will say this, if you really want to know my perspective on it.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's the fear about COVID is people's fear of death. And that's, people spend more time running away from death than living life. People are, I know so many, I don't know a lot of people, but I know so many people who are afraid of dying so much that they never live life. They're so afraid of what if they eat something that they think they shouldn't, or if they, they need to get their mammogram every month, or they have to, whatever it might be, that they're just constantly focused upon all the things that could possibly go wrong, rather than realizing all the good things that are going right now.
Yes. Yeah. And the body is self-healing. It's a mechanism that constantly is renewing, and we've still got more to learn. There's always more to learn, but we've got such a miraculous
Yeah,
vehicles.
I do. I mean, I'm from the school of, and please understand, this is not something that I know is probably the most popular way of looking at things, but I do believe that COVID and anything, any cancers, anything that you're talking about, any diseases, a lot of it is a thought form, and that we latch onto and we manifest and create that in our lives. You know, there are things that happen where people will say, boy, that really galls me. And that's their expression. Everything's really galls them. It galls them. And eventually they develop gallbladder issues.
Yes.
And it settles in the body because you just keep saying it over and over and over again, and you're accepting it and believing it and adhering to it. You know, there's, I know that there's a book that I read just a few pages of one time called Mind Over Medical. And I'm sorry that I don't know who the author of the book is, but she was a medical doctor. And she said, you wouldn't believe the incredible miracles that we see all the time happening in the hospitals. And she talked about this one doctor who was treating cancer, and he would inject his patients with this drug called EPOH. And he suddenly realized EPOH spelled backwards is hope. So he started telling people who said, what are you injecting me with? He said, I'm injecting you with hope. And they started recovering much more quickly. And she told another story about a radiation machine for radiologists that apparently wasn't working, but nobody knew it wasn't. And this one woman went in, she had her, you know, she believed this was going to save her and it was going to get rid of her tumor. And she went in, she had her radiology treatments, and she said, oh my gosh, you know, my tumor's gone. This is fantastic. And the radiologist said, it's a miracle because the machine isn't working and hasn't been working. You know, so I mean, it's really, I know it's not easy. I mean, I have physical things that I would love to figure out how I can get rid of them, you know, and I'm working on it, trying to understand it, but I haven't come to the place where I have figured out how to get rid of these certain things. But it's, you know, if you play around with it, hey, you might find that it works. You know, just saying that, oh, that can't work, or that can't be, or that's not true. Okay, then just stay there and believe that. That's okay. But what would it hurt to maybe give it a whirl? What would it hurt to maybe not say that galls me all the time? Or catch yourself when you're saying repetitive things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely right, Summer. Yeah. As Dr. Peebles said, we put ourselves in cages.
Mm-hmm. We do. Yeah, we really do.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see sometimes. It really is. I mean, I have my own, I'm sure I have my own cages too, of sorts, but
sure I do. I know I do. But
yeah,
we keep working at it, don't we? We're working at it, and yeah. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today? Anything you?
Oh, I don't know. Oh gosh, it's been an hour already. My goodness sakes.
I know. Suddenly, you know.
Yeah.
You want to take?
I don't know. Do we have any time? I meant to channel Dr. Peebles a little bit again for you today, but
to you. Yes, I mean, you know, there's no shoulds or have tos, and I don't want to. I know you've got a lot on your plate at the moment, so I don't want to.
I mean, I would be happy to just let him say hi if you want, and if there's a couple of questions or something, and you want to hear them.
They would love it. Let's see if that's all right with you. We'd love it, and if not, that's okay too, Summer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do it. I can feel he's here, so may as well.
Okay. That'd be wonderful. Ask your questions. Get them in the box, please.
God bless you, Dr. Peebles. Here it is a joy and a blessing when man and spirit join together in search of the greater truths and awareness. God bless you indeed, my dear friends, as you strive to understand your right to receive and to give abundance in this your chosen lifetime. We would like to offer to you the following principles to be used as tools in tandem. Number one, loving allowance for all things to be in their own time and place, starting for yourselves. God bless you indeed. Number two, increase communication with all of life and with respect. God bless you indeed. Responsibility for your life is a creative adventure, for through your choices and perceptions, you do indeed create your own reality. My dear friends who are beautiful spirits, students of the divine, you have so many possibilities in your life that you are holding at arm's length. Take a moment, my dear friends, in the day take 5 minutes and ask yourself, what is possible for me right here and right now that I'm holding at arm's length? You might be surprised at what you bump into there. You might be surprised at the richness that exists within you, the possibilities, the opportunities that you are holding at arm's length. Because you say, well, I can't do it. I'm not good enough, not wise enough. It's never going to happen. God bless you indeed. Well, my dear friends, is there one thing that you can do to take action in a different direction, to get a little bit more creative about your life, perhaps? God bless you indeed. Is there one little tiny thing that you can change in your consciousness that will help free you up into the world to give of yourself more and more to the world authentically? God bless you indeed. It is there that you will find freedom and flight of soul. It is there, my dear friends, that you will come to understand who you really are. When you give of yourself to life, and you give of yourself sincerely, authentically, not holding yourself back, not holding yourself at arm's length, God bless you indeed, but rather giving of yourself to life authentically, you receive the honest echo in kind. You suddenly begin to realize who you really are in the world, God bless you indeed, here and now. If you hold yourself back, and if you express yourself with fear, that people might misunderstand you, so you don't say something, you're never going to really know whether or not they do understand. The most loving thing you can do for the world is to give of yourself to the world. Let the world see you honestly, so that they can then respond to you honestly and authentically themselves. It is so very important, my dear friends, because this is the only way that you're going to come together here upon this planet Earth, to be authentic, to allow for your authenticity to shine. And when we say authentic, when you look inside of your heart, you will begin to understand that the true you is one that is loving and kind and gentle natured, that has certainly perspectives and opinions about life, as does everybody else. So have a little loving allowance for all things to be in their own time and place, but start with yourself. Give yourself the freedom, God bless you indeed, to be you in the world. Are you courageous enough to do so? We believe you can. We love you so very much. You are remarkable beings. Goodness gracious. It took a tremendous amount of courage to come into the planet Earth in the first place, to slide down through that tunnel of forgetfulness, to leave some things behind, family members and others on the other side, to traipse down to the planet Earth to explore more about yourself, so that you can grow and grow and grow, and at long last find and touch the face of God within. Beautiful spirits, students of the divine, and we love each and every one of you. It's a journey to the heart here upon this school called Planet Earth, and it's a difficult time to be here, but it certainly is, my dear friends, an inspiring time as well. It's inspiring you to find your heart, to know who you really are, and to live your life authentically. You're moving into the greater, more beautiful dimension, the fifth dimension of understanding of love, wherein you will find more freedom to be expressive of who you are in the world, and allowing others to express themselves as well. And God bless you indeed, my dear Bracha. We love you so very much. Goodness gracious, you're a beautiful spirit. And we thank you so very much for this platform, for our community. God bless you indeed, each and every one of you coming together, creating a magnificent vibration upon the earth. God bless you indeed. Is there a question there or two, perhaps? And then we shall allow the dear channel to return, yeah?
Thank you very much, Dr. Peebles. It's an honor to have you here today.
It's truly, my dear, a pleasure as well here. We love to interact with human beings because you are very, very interesting characters, aren't you? Yeah. God bless you indeed.
So yes, there's a question here. I don't feel or hear my spirit helpers. Are they still supporting me if I feel so disconnected?
Yes, they certainly are. And sometimes your spirit helpers are busy. Sometimes they have meetings. We actually have lives here, you see. We do things. We have meetings about you. What's the best way to guide you? When's the best time to do it? When are you going to be the most receptive to it? God bless you indeed. So take a deep breath, relax, release, and surrender, and know that you are always loved. The greatest illusion of separation of all is that you are not loved. God bless you indeed. But you are, my dear friends. It's an illusion to think that you are not. You are always surrounded by your guides, and they are always there. It's just that the answer is not necessarily going to come right away for you. As well, God bless you, but just you are a beautiful spirit, the one who has asked the question. We love you very much. And if you can simply sit in a room and imagine with your eyes closed that your guides are standing right behind you with their hands on your back. and you listen in to about 6 inches or so behind your ear, and you will find that you will start to feel and sense that they are talking to you. Trust this. Listen for their words. You're not going to really hear it as words. You're going to feel it and sense it as something that is coming to you, an idea, perhaps a thought form that comes in and gives you the answer to a question that you might have. And so they want you to know as well that they do hear your prayers. They really do. And they love you very much. And they hear your soft, sweet whispers in the night where you give gratitude and love. God bless you indeed. And anybody can do the same exercise as well. God bless you indeed, who's listening here today. It will, your guides love to interact with you. My goodness gracious, you're never bothering them. They say, give us something to do. Yeah.
Thank you.
We love you. We want to do something for you. Yeah. Bless you indeed. Yeah. And is there anything further there, my dear?
Yes, there's a question here. Is everything going in the right direction for humanity?
Always, yes. It certainly is. Life is a dance, my dear friends. It's just a dance. It's a movement, and it has been going on for centuries here upon this school called planet Earth. Human beings are growing all the time, and many of them leave the planet Earth and never have to return because they've learned their lessons. They've graduated from the school called planet Earth and go on to study other things in the universe because the learning never ends. So yes, the human beings are going in the right direction because it's not really one direction. You are heading as an individual in terms of your awareness of love, your awareness of yourself as a loving creature upon the earth, your awareness of yourself as an eternal soul upon the planet Earth. God bless you indeed, that you are just in the body temporarily to learn some lessons, to look at everything around you, to see everything that you see and hear and taste, touch, feel, and smell, and understand that it's all contained within you. Every bit of it. God bless you indeed. All the things that you think are terrible in the world, it's all there inside of you. It's just that you choose not to bring it to the surface. How lovely of you not to bring that to the surface. God bless you indeed, but instead to choose love at every point in your journey. You are beautiful spirits. Everybody's going to come out of this living happily ever after eventually. God bless you indeed. We want you to understand that there is the only one direction, if you will, if there is a destination for all, it is the destination of love, where you return to source, where you understand that you are a child of God, that you were birthed from love, and that is where you're going to return to. And then what's going to happen next? That's up to you, my dear friends. Goodness gracious, once you're enlightened, what you're going to do next, yeah? God bless you indeed. And does that help? And my dear Bracha, yeah?
Oh, that was wonderful. Yes, thank you very, very much. Yes.
Thank you very much, my dear Bracha, and thanks to all who are listening here today. You are carrying love within your hearts. You are open-minded. You are willing to hear the other perspectives. You don't have to believe them all. That's all right. You be you, my dear friends. We love you no matter what you are doing in your life. You can never stumble and fall in our eyes. You are just learning, you are growing. Never are there any mistakes, but only growth. Remember this, my dear friends. Don't be so hard on yourself. Be, if you will, gentle upon thyself and then others. God bless you indeed. You're beautiful spirits. We love you so very much. And go your way in peace, love, and harmony. For life is indeed a joy. And all you have to do is you enjoy the journey to your own hearts and suddenly to your own enlightenment is simply lighten up just a little bit more. God bless you indeed. Hi.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you, Summer.
You're welcome.
Thank you very, very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah.
It was a real treat. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. My goodness, I can't believe the time flew so fast today.
Yeah. Really quick. So yeah, just want to thank everybody. We are taking your questions, so it's all right. Lucy will collate those questions and we'll formulate for when hopefully Summer will come back again. Will you, Summer?
I'd be lovely to hear.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Summer, thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too. Thank you to everybody, and thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lucy, very, very much. Thank you, Jimmy, for your help. You're helping Lucy, so thank you. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, beautiful soul family. We'll see you soon.
God bless you, everybody.
God bless you.
Bye.